Good morning, girls. In today's session, we are going to discuss about exception handling in C++. An error is a mistake that occurs during program execution. It is also known as bug. In general, we have two types of errors: compile time errors and runtime errors. All the syntactic errors are identified during compilation of the program, and hence they are also known as compile time errors. And all the logical errors in a program are identified while running the program, and hence they are also known as runtime errors. Now let us see what is an exception. Exception is a special case logic error. When an exception is encountered, the program is terminated without continuing the execution. These special type of problems, such as division by zero or array index out of bound, bad memory allocation, etc., are few exceptions. Now let us see what is exception handling mechanism. The purpose of exception handling mechanism is to detect the exceptions and report the exceptions. So when an exception is arised in the program, instead of terminating the program, the exception handling mechanism allows you to continue with the execution by reporting the exception. This mechanism has 4 steps: find the exception, throw the exception, catch the exception, and handle the exception. All these 4 steps are done by using 3 keywords: try, catch, and throw. All the 4 steps are maintained in 2 blocks: try block and catch block. Try block contains the statements which may cause an exception. All the statements are placed in the try block. Now, the throw statement throws the exception. The throw keyword throws the exception object. So, whatever exception object is thrown by the throw keyword is caught by the catch block. Now, catch block catches the exception and handles the exception. This you can see in this figure. So, the work of try block is to find the exception and throw the exception. The thrown exception object is caught by the catch block. The catch block catches the exception and handles the exception. Now this is the general form. So whenever I am writing exception handling mechanism in my program, catch block should be followed by try block. The throw statement is written in the try block. Here we are using 3 keywords: try, catch, and throw. 3 keywords we are using. Now let us see an example. In this example, I am going to discuss about division by zero exception. All of you know, when we divide two numbers, if the denominator is 0, the result is infinity. But in computers, if the denominator is 0, it's a division by zero exception. It causes division by zero exception. If the exception handling mechanism is not used, the program is terminated when that statement is executed. So, in this example, I'm going to illustrate or show you how the division by zero exception is handled by using exception handling mechanism. Now, if you see this program, I have read two values from the keyboard, A and B. Okay, and then I have calculated a value called X. The value of X is A minus B. So here the condition goes like this: if X is not equal to 0, X is the denominator. Here I am dividing A by X. If X is not equal to 0, then I will print the result. If at all the denominator, that is X, is equal to 0, then I am throwing an exception. That exception is caught by the catch block, which is immediately after the try block. Now let us see this example. Here I have run the program 2 times. Now in the first time, when I have run the program first time, the values of A and B are 16 and 20. So what the value of X is A minus B, that is 16 minus 20, that is minus 4. So A by X, X is not equal to 4. So A by X is calculated and printed. So in the first run, I am not getting division by zero exception. Now let us try division by zero exception. So if at all I am calculating A by X, X is equal to A minus B. So here, when will be the X value? When will the X value becomes 0? When the value of A and the value of B both are equal. So in this, when I am running the second time, what I have taken, A and B values as 10. So now let us see, A value is 10, B value is 10, and X value is A minus B, that is 10 minus 10, X value is 0. Now in the try block, my condition is if X value not equal to 0. But here the X value is 0. So the condition is false. If the condition is false, then I am moving to else part. In the else part, what I am doing? Throw of X. X value is 0. X is an integer object. That means I am throwing an integer object. So the catch block should contain an integer argument. So whatever I have thrown in the try block is caught by the catch block, and my output will be exception caught X equal to 0. Okay, so when the value of A and B, when the value of A and B are equal, then I am getting an exception. Division by zero exception. I'm throwing the exception and catching the exception. Without terminating the program, I'm continuing with the program. This is division by zero exception. Now let us see multiple catch statements. Yes, as this heading indicates, we can write multiple catch statements in a program. For one try block, I can write more than one catch statement. Now let us see how this multiple catch statement works. So for example, my try block is throwing different types of exceptions. So I can write multiple catch statements with different type of exception arguments. Now let us see an example. In this example, I have taken a variable called A, and initially the value of A is 2. I have assigned the value of a as 2. Okay, and I'm writing a try block. In this try block, I have 3 conditions. First condition is if a equal to 1, then throw a. Throw a, that means a is an integer value, so when I'm throwing an integer exception. Else, if a equal to 2, then throw capital A within single quotes, that is character constant. So I'm throwing a character exception. If else, if a equal to 3, throw 4.5. 4.5 here is a double exception. So I'm throwing a double exception. So depending on the value of a, I'm throwing different types of exceptions. Now, how many throw statements in this I've written? 3 throw statements. But only 1 throw will be executed. So now let us see how many catch blocks I have to write. 3 different catch blocks. I don't know whether the a value may be 1, 2 or 3. If the a value is 1, then I'm throwing an integer exception. So the catch block should contain an integer exception argument. Then if the a value is 2, I'm throwing a character exception. So the catch block should contain a character exception object. If the a value is 3, I'm throwing a double exception. So the catch block should contain a double. So now let us see how this program, what will be the output of this program. So initially, what is the a value? The a value is a value is equal to 2. So if a value is 2, then what type of exception I'm throwing? I'm throwing character exception. So here first it will compare with this argument, first catch argument, that is integer, so it is not equal. So next it will compare with the second catch argument of second catch block, so it is equal. So thrown exception is a character exception. Now this particular statement, this particular catch block will be executed and you'll get an output as character exception caught. Okay, for example, if my a value is 3, for example, let us suppose a value is 3, then what exception it is throwing? It is throwing a double exception, that is if a value is 3, then throw 4.5. So here the third catch block will be executed and you will get an output double exception caught. Now let us see here, in this case what I have written, I have I'm throwing 3 different exception objects. So I have got 3 different exception object by writing 3 different catch statement. If a equal to 1, I'm catching by using integer. I have written a catch block with integer argument. A equal to 2, I'm throwing character, so I've written a catch block with character argument. Then if a equal to 3, I'm throwing a double exception, so I've written a catch block with double exception type. Now instead of writing this many catch blocks, I can write the same program with a single catch block, that is a catch block which can catch any type of exceptions that we are going to see now. So here, that is a catch block, we can catch any type of exceptions. The catch block contains 3 dots instead of exception type. So if you have seen this general form, if you have seen this general form, the catch block here contains 3 dots. So whatever type of exception thrown from the try block will be caught by the catch block. Now let us take the same example. Now in this example, what is the a value I have given? A equal to 1. In this try block I have written 3. I am throwing 3 different types of exceptions. If a equal to 1, I am throwing integer exception. If a equal to 2, I am throwing character exception. If a equal to 3, I am throwing double exception. Now here I have written only one catch block with 3 dots. So whatever type of exception I am throwing, this block will catch. This is a general catch block. General catch block means this catch block can catch any type of exceptions. So if a equal to 1, then the output is exception called occur. Then if a equal to 2, then also it catches the character, and the output will be exception occur. And if a equal to 3, then also it catches the double exception. So irrespective of the type of the exception, this catch block can catch any type of exception. So this is catching an exception, catching any type of exception with the general catch block. Now we'll see what are the standard exception. So in general, here in this we have an exception class. An exception class is already defined in the standard library. So here the class is defined in the exception header. So exception std scope resolution operator exception. This exception class belongs to the standard C++ library, and this exception class has a special function called what. That is the name of the function. What is the name of the function? This what function returns the error message, and this what function can be overridden in the derived classes. For example, if I want to create my own exceptions, that is user defined exceptions, then I have to include the exception class along with the IOStream class. Now let us see this example. You'll get better idea about this. So here I have written IOStream header file I have included, and exception header file. So by using this exception class, what I'm doing is I'm creating my own exceptions. So here I have included IOStream header file as well as exception header file. Now here what I've done, here I have created a class called my exception, and this my exception class is inherited from exception class. Exception class belongs to the standard exception library. Okay, so from this I have derived a class called my exception. This is compulsory if you want to create your own exceptions. So in this my exception class, I have written the what function. I have defined the what function. This what function is a virtual function, and here I am returning a message called my exception happened. That is the message. So the main purpose of what function is to return the exception string. So here I have created an exception and I am returning that exception string by using the what method. So to create your own exceptions, you have to create a class by deriving the exception class. Okay, so here what is the class we have created? My exception class is derived from the exception class. In that I have redefined the what function, and in this I'm giving my own exception message. Now here this statement my ex is a statement, is an object created to the my exception class. Okay, my ex is an object created to the my exception class. Now if you here in the main function, what I'm throwing in the try block, I'm throwing my x, myex. What is this myex? This myex is an my exception class object. So that my exception class object I am throwing, that is called by the exception class object E. My exception class object is called by the exception class object E. So here in this catch block, what I'm doing, E dot what I'm printing. So what function returns the error message. With object E, I'm calling the what function. So here, what function, what is the message? Here we have given in the my exception happened. Here what function returns a message called my exception happened. So when I call this E dot what, so automatically the what function returns that message, and that message will be displayed in the output. So my exception happened is the output. So this example shows how to create your own exceptions and how to extract the error message. Now let us see rethrowing an exception. Already you have seen throwing an exception. For throwing an exception, we will use throw statement. The throw statement throws an exception. This throw statement we are using in try block. By using this try block throw statement, I am throwing a exception object. Now this what is rethrowing? Rethrowing in the sense, when the catch block catches an exception, instead of handling that exception, it can throw the exception again. That is rethrowing. Now till now we have seen only throwing the exception from try block. Now we are going to see after catching the exception, the catch block also can throw the exception by using the throw statement. Okay, that is rethrowing the exception. Now let us see this example. In this example, I have written a function called divide, and there are two values x and y. Divide x and y. X, y are double values. So in this x by y, what we are doing is we are dividing x by y. If the value of y is 0, then we'll throw an exception, otherwise no. So here in the main function, let us see the main function. So first our execution starts with the driver function, that is the main function. As you know, every program execution, every C++ program execution starts with the driver function, that is main. Starts at the driver function, that is main. So first we'll get an output called inside main. Okay, then second I'm calling the divide function. Divide function is throwing an exception. So divide function may throw an exception. It is not throwing an exception, it is may throw an exception. So whatever the statements that causes an exception are placed in the try block, as you know it. So the divide function, here I have called the divide function two times. First time the values are 10.5, 2.0. So x value is 10.5, y value is 2.0. The control is transferred from here to the divide function. In the divide function, y value, what is the y value? 2.0. Y value is not equal to 0. So we'll go to the else part and we'll display the division result. That is 10 point by 2.0. So here the result is, if you can see in the output, inside main, then inside function, then division value is equal to 5.25, and after that, after printing the division value, catch block is not executed. Why? Because throw statement is not executed. If the try block throws an exception only, the catch block will be executed here. So y value is not equal to 0. I'm not throwing any exception. I'm directly printing the value of x by y. I'm ending the function. So this is the result after first function is called. Now again I'm calling the divide function with another values. What are the values? 20.0 and 0.0. So what is the y value here? 0.0. So here y value is equal to 0. So throw. Now the denominator value, x value is 20.0, y value is 0.0. So here the denominator value is 0. So I am throwing an exception y. Y is a double object, so the catch block contains a double, so double object, and it catches the exception. Now after catching the exception, caught the double exception, and inside the function, after displaying that caught double exception inside the function, what it is doing? Again throwing. So the catch block in the divide function is throwing an exception. So this exception thrown by the catch block of divide function is caught by the catch block of main function. So here you get a message caught double inside main. So here you can see the output. When this part is when the second function is called. So inside function, then y value is 0. So caught double exception inside function, and then the catch block is again throwing an exception, so which is caught by the main function. So caught double inside main function. So here not only the try block, the catch block of divide function has thrown the exception object which is caught by the catch block of main function. So I think you understood how to rethrow an exception. In this, the rethrowing an exception, the main function, the main part is once the catch block catches the exception, it can handle the exception or it can throw the exception depending on the situation. When the catch block is throwing an exception, there should be another catch block to catch the rethrown exception. So now let us see here in this slide where I have given a few standard exception classes. Okay, like exception class, we have bad alloc exception. This is one of the important exceptions. Generally happens when memory is not allocated properly, then this exception happens. Generally this happens when we are using new operator. Okay, by using new operator, if I try to allocate the memory, then this bad alloc exception is caused. Likewise, runtime errors, logic errors, bad function call, bad exception, uh, like these all are standard exception classes, which are derived directly from the exception class. These classes are directly derived from the exception class. Okay. Now we'll see how to handle this bad alloc exception. Handling this bad alloc exception. Okay. This bad alloc. Alloc means allocating. So this, as the name suggests, this exception is caused when the memory is when an error occurs during allocating the memory, then this exception is caused. So if you see this example program, okay, here in the try block, I'm creating an pointer array, and I'm creating an array of you can see the size of the array. so many zeros are there. Yes, so it is very difficult. I mean, it may, your system may not have that much array or something. While allocating the memory of this size, definitely there are chances of causing an exception. So if that exception is caused while allocating this memory, then that exception is bad alloc exception. So this bad alloc exception is caught by the catch block, and this you can see here BA is the object of bad alloc exception. Bad alloc exception belongs to the standard library as we discussed previously. Okay, so here BA dot what, sorry, here you can see BA dot what. This what function, this what function this what function will display the error message when an error whatever already defined in the Badalog exception class, that error message is displayed by using this what function. So this is about exception handling in C++. Thank you.